Hey guys, this is Becky with Design Bundles, and I'm super excited to have you join me today because we are introducing you to the Cricut Maker. Now, obviously, it is a fabulous cutting machine, and I can't wait to tell you all about it. Plus, this is a quick overview, all right? So we're not settling in for the long journey. We are going to give you what you need to know to get started. So here we are. Now, it's no secret if you have been checking out any of the videos that I have already opened and been using my Cricut Maker. I've had my Cricut Maker for probably about a year, maybe a little bit longer, and I'll share a funny story with you guys. Actually, I am a Silhouette user, and I started with Silhouette, and I felt very strongly about my love for Silhouette, and Cricut has amazing marketing because when they came out with the Cricut Maker, I was sold 110%. I was like, oh, I need a Cricut Maker. And I bought one and it came in and then it sat in the box for about 6 months and I actually sold it. I was afraid of it, guys, and that's okay. And I tell you that story because I want you to know that no matter where you are at on your Cricut journey, I mean, we're all starting somewhere and it's okay to be afraid of your machine, but you really don't have to be, okay? So with that being said, I do not have a full unboxing video for you, but I do have a few unboxing tips. First of all, unbox it when you have time to go ahead and do your first project. Doesn't have to be a big project. You don't even have to have, a specific project in mind. You can cut a piece of cardstock, cut a piece of paper, cut some vinyl, whatever you want to do, because it is easy to let that fear develop. So set aside a couple hours to get it set up and to go ahead and complete your first project, okay? Second of all, keep your boxing, okay? Now your box will tell you everything that is included in here. You get the Cricut Maker, you get a couple cutting mats, you get both a fine tip blade and a rotary blade, so that is really cool. You get all the cords that you need, and you get a pen, one of the Cricut pens that fits in your machine. So, a lot of really cool stuff to play with, and I promise that you won't be disappointed. All right, so on top of that, make sure you keep your box, because if you ever need to travel with it or send it in for a warranty claim or anything like that, this box and the packaging it comes with is going to be your best friend. All right, Cricut makes very sturdy machines and they make very sturdy packaging. So like I said, I've had this box, I'm no longer in warranty. This is my second maker that I actually opened and used, but I still hang on to my box because I know that I travel with my machines a lot, and if I just ever need to pack it up and keep it secure, I just am that much of a fan of the Cricut packaging. All right, so I'm gonna stop talking about the packaging. Let's talk about your maker. All right, now let's talk about cords. That is the very first thing that you need to discover. You have a USB cord that connects your machine to your computer. Now, it does have Bluetooth, okay? So you can see I've actually never opened mine out of the packaging, okay? And that's okay. And then of course you have a power cord, and I have absolutely opened that. So let's talk about where you're gonna plug those in. If you turn this machine around to the back, right here, this is what you're looking at. Right at the very bottom of your machine down here, this is where both of those cables will go. But particularly, what we're gonna do is go ahead and plug in our power cord. Okay, so with the power cord plugged in, all you're gonna do is lift up slightly on your lid, and it will open up the machine for you. That, I'm not gonna lie, that's probably one of my favorite features of the Cricut machines, because you don't get that with every machine. But I love it with this machine, I love it with my Explorer Air 2, and it's just it's a wow factor, okay? It's pretty to look at, all right? So over here, let's go ahead and talk about, you have your power button, you have your load and unload, you have a Cricut button, which is what you're going to use when it's time to send your print to be cut out on your machine. And then you have a pause button, all right? On this side, this is where I keep my ratchet blade. You did receive this with your machine. All right, this was one of the big selling factors whenever the Cricut Maker came out. your fine tip blade is probably already in your machine. I believe that mine was. I've heard that they are. So if you have a blade in your machine, that's what it is. Now to replace the blades, you can simply pull open on your lever and you can pull the blade in and out. All right. When it's time for you to change this blade, you're going to push down on the depressor right there and you will pull your blade out and put your new one in. Just be careful because your blades are sharp. When you need to use other blades, this is what you will do to switch them out. Now you do have a dual blade housing. All right, so let's take a look at that. You have one that is for blades. This one is for your pin. All right, this is your pin adapter in here. And of course you can, you'll be able to really feel when it snaps in place. So don't feel like, if you have to force it, that's where I'm going with that. If you have to force this closed, then something is wrong and you need to take a look at it. Now that we've talked about your blades, there are 2 wheels on each side. Well, 1 wheel on each side, and they line up with little plastic guides. And those guides are going to tell you where your mat goes. All right, so when you go to load your mat, and you'll see this hands on whenever it's time for us to do our first project, your mat will slide right underneath these guides, and that's how you know that it is in the correct position. And then that's when you will press your load to load your mat in the machine. All right. Now, I'll be honest with you, the Cricut Maker is it's a relatively heavy machine. This is a little tool storage down here. All right, but everything is made very sturdy. All right, that's one thing I always love about Cricuts is they're pretty weighty. All right, you can tell that they're made with what I consider quality materials, and Cricut really stands behind their machines. All right, so if you have anything that you feel isn't right with your Cricut, make sure you reach out to their customer support, because that is what's going to make sure that you're really getting what you paid for, honestly. That's what it rolls down to, is you don't want to have purchased a machine that is not 110% working correctly. So if you have any problems whenever you open it up, when you're looking at it, make sure you look in all the crevices and pull out all of the packaging materials, and then really look at it and make sure that everything feels nice and sturdy. It's kind of like you're giving it a physical inspection right off the bat. All right. So once you are satisfied and you've explored, come in here, give everything a little test. All right, check it all out. Once you're ready, let's go ahead and jump over to the software, and then we will talk about setting up our software, where you're going to get it from, download it, and how we're going to set up our first project, okay? Okay guys, so now that we have the machine plugged in, it's ready to go, we are going to talk about where to get the software. You're just going to go to Cricut.com, and over here on the right hand side, you will have a little button that says Design, because that's what the Cricut software is. It is Cricut Design Space. All right, now I'm on a PC, so of course I'm going to download the one for Windows, but you literally click the download, whether you have a Windows PC or you have a Mac. You can also use your machine using a mobile device, whether it's Apple or Android. You will just go to your respective app store and install the app and connect for Bluetooth. All right. Now, the apps do not have the same functions that you get from the desktop, but that's okay. You can absolutely still do some really, really awesome projects using your mobile device. Now, we do have a really great video on how to get started in Cricut Design Space, but once you get the software installed, this is going to be your home page. So if you've not worked with Cricut Design Space before, I would definitely check out that video. I will link it down below in the description for you, but I'm just going to show you the basics. Of course, you will register for an account. You will have a Cricut account, and that is what will save all of your projects and things too. You'll be able to access that account from different devices to be able to connect to your Cricut machine and just overall have some awesomeness going on, right, in your Cricut account. So we're going to go up here, and they do have a new machine setup. And from the new machine setup, you can choose a cutting machine, and then you can choose which machine you're setting up. So if you go to the Cricut Maker, it will give you some really important tips for setting everything up. And it tells you the first thing you're going to do is clear 10 inches from the back side of the Cricut Maker. Then you will plug it into an outlet. Of course, we have already taken care of that. You can use the USB cord to connect. Now let me pause right here. You do need to keep track of that USB cord because if you need to update your firmware, that is the software that is on the Cricut itself. And if you need to update that firmware, you have to be connected via a USB cable. All right. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I did not know this was here when I first set up my Cricut. And I'm just going to go ahead and click cancel. But you can walk through that entire new machine setup and just get some really great information. If you have already skipped ahead of that point, that's fine. If you've already connected your Maker, that's fine too. You probably, if you're like me, you're going to want to connect it with Bluetooth, and I can show you how to take care of that. It is really quick and easy, and no judgment because I totally did that too. When you come to cut on your Maker for the first time, you are going to need to connect it to Bluetooth. I'm on a Windows PC, so if you're on a Mac, this will be just a tad different. But I just opened my little search menu down here, and I'm going to type in Bluetooth. And then I'm going to choose Add Bluetooth or Other Device, and add Bluetooth here. It will populate that my Maker is already available. And then it will connect. Now the pin for your Maker, and I believe this is true for the Explorer Air 2 also, you're looking at zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hit connect. And there we go. It says that your device is ready to go. So I'm going to jump over to my canvas because that is going to be our main designing area. So I will go ahead, I'm going to upload an SVG for us to work with today. Of course, the SVG came from designbundles.net, is part of a crafty bundle that I'm really, really a big fan of. As a matter of fact, I think I have one of these decals on every machine that I own, just because I love the quotes that much. So I will go to upload and click upload image. Now this is where it will tell you the types of images that you can upload. Of course, we also have a video on uploading and using different images in the software. I'm just going to choose browse, and I'm going to go to my downloads folder. And then this one here, just a woman building her craft empire. That is me today. That's how I'm feeling. I'm going to hit save, and I will insert that into my canvas. Now you can see that this inserted at a whopping 12.429 inches wide and respectively 11.365 inches high. That is obviously a little too big. This is a decal that's going to go on my machine, so I am going to size it down just a tad. Now I have already measured the top of my machine, so I know that I want my decal to be no more than 4 inches high. Now when you're dealing with a small decal, just make sure that it's not too small or you don't have some really, really small details, because small does not always cut well. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and attach all these little pieces, because what will happen is the Cricut will try to save the extra material for you, and it will break this apart to cut it most effectively. We don't want that. We don't want to have to piece this back together. So we're going to attach it all together and click over to Make It. Now there shouldn't be too much that you have to do at this point. If you need to change your material size, you can. I'm going to leave it at a 12 by 12, and down here I will just click continue. But the important thing to note is that this is a preview of what your mat should look like. So when you look at your mat and you look at your screen, they should match, okay? So this is going to connect me to my Maker, and it will show me all the different materials that I can cut with. Now if you're coming over from an Explorer Air 2, you notice that you've lost the dial, and the Maker is completely dependent on the settings that you select right here. Now we are going to cut adhesive vinyl today, so that is the setting that I'm going to choose is vinyl. Once I select vinyl, it will then ask me about my pressure. Now we are just cutting regular adhesive vinyl, so the pressure will be fine, but you do have options. Okay, so if you notice that your cut is not as deep as it needs to be to cut through the material, or maybe it's a little too deep, then you can adjust that here. Honestly guys, for regular adhesive vinyl, I have not had to adjust my pressure at all. Now this is where we go back over to the machine. We are going to load our mat, and we are going to click that Cricut button so that it will go ahead and cut our project. All right guys, so for my project, I have a sheet of, this is a sparkly holographic adhesive vinyl and a piece of transfer tape. All right, will be the basics for cutting adhesive vinyl. You will always need that transfer tape. This is a standard grip mat. Now, if you received a different mat with your machine, that is okay. Just know that this is a standard grip and this is typically what you'll use for most projects. The blue mat is the light grip mat, and I believe that's what you received with the machine. And then maybe also a pink mat, which is a strong grip mat. So the strong grip is usually for fabric. It may even say a fabric mat. And then the light grip is going to be primarily for cardstock and copy paper and more delicate materials that don't need the strong grip of a standard grip mat, okay? What I'm going to do, oh, by the way, if all you have is the blue mat, that's fine. You can go ahead and use it for your first project too. I'm going to line up my adhesive vinyl. Okay, now you may need to remove the clear sheet that comes on your mat, and it is sticky, so it will hold your adhesive vinyl in place. So you're just going to line up the vinyl to cover your grid area, and then you will take the mat. Remember those guides that I told you about. You're going to slide this right under the guides, and now my load and unload button is already flashing because it knows that I need to complete this step. Now, because we have already set up our design in the Cricut design space, in just a minute, my Cricut button is going to start flashing, and that's when I know that it's ready to cut. I will go ahead and do that, and then we will see how it weeds. Okay, so obviously sped that up a little bit, okay? Your Cricut's not gonna cut that fast, but normally for a decal of this size, it does not take too terribly long. I'm gonna go ahead and click unload, and it will release my mat from the machine. Now, if you're working with a limited work area, you are actually complete. You can fold this guy up and move him out of the way. And then let's talk about the other tools we have. I do have a pair of scissors. I also use weeding tweezers. That's what I use to weed my vinyl. And then I have a scraper. The first thing that I'm going to do is just pull the vinyl off of the mat. Now, if you hold the vinyl at the right angle, you will be able to see the cut lines and you can trim around them. And then the easiest way to go ahead and, what I consider the easiest way, is to start at the corner of your vinyl. I just pierce it with my tweezers and just start slowly pulling it back. And like I said, this is just regular adhesive vinyl, so you really shouldn't have any problems weeding this out and getting a good cut. Okay, so once you are sure that you are finished weeding, this is your trash. You can ball it up and throw it away. And then this is going to be your transfer tape. This is what will pull the vinyl away from the backing so that you can transfer it onto your project. What I like to do is I like to put my decal on top of my transfer tape so I can trim around it and make sure that my transfer tape is large enough for my project. Now you want it to be large enough to cover your project, but not so large that it becomes a hindrance, okay? Peel the transfer tape away from the backing. And what I do for placement is I let it droop just a little bit in the middle, let the middle touch down, and then smooth out your sides. This is where your scraper will come in. You're just gonna burnish it a little bit. And then as you peel the transfer tape up or pull the backing away, okay, there we go. Let's go ahead and apply it. I'm going to apply this straight to my machine. Let's see, I think I'm gonna put it right here. So I'm just gonna smooth it down. And there we go. We have a brand new decal, which for you guys will be your very first cut with your Cricut Maker. Now, of course, there is a lot more included in your maker. All right, the things that this machine can do are just wild, guys. I mean, the fact that it can cut with a rotary blade to cut your fabric, it can cut with a knife blade to cut thicker materials and foam and balsa wood, and it can etch and engrave and emboss and score, and then on top of that, all the materials that you have, I mean, leatherette and vinyl and heat transfer vinyl, I mean, I could just go on and on and on. And then the features and the extra tools that you can buy, the fact that it has a very, very reliable auto blade. Okay, now they don't call it that, but it's the blade automatically adjusts, so you don't have to mess with it. Your blades are actually very inexpensive because you're not replacing the entire housing. I mean, just like I said, it will really blow your mind, all the things that you can do with the Maker. It is a very, very powerful cutting tool. It's a very powerful crafting tool, and it's not anything that you're going to regret adding to your crafting arsenal. So let's wrap it up. Okay, guys, so what did you think about the Maker? Now, of course, we made this video with you in mind, those of you who just received a Maker. Maybe you're on the fence about buying a Maker. So I know that you will have loads of questions. And guys, I'm here to tell you that I'm very happy to answer them to the best of my knowledge, okay? I always love to hear from you guys. It makes my little heart happy to share in your excitement of discovering this new machine. Now, like I said, we did not go over everything. I mean, guys, the video would just be insanely long. This is a quick overview just to get you set up and going. That way you can really indulge that want to create. Because let's be real, you purchased this machine or somebody purchased it for you and gifted it because you must have some want to create, or maybe you're already creative. And guys, I just want to say that if you do not feel creative, that I promise you this machine will bring out the creativity in everybody. All right, you don't have to be just this exceedingly successful artist. This machine will take care of everything for you. Okay, so don't be afraid of it. Get it out of the box, pick out a file. Hey, Design Bundles has a lot of free files that you can download and test out. Make sure you check our video library because I already have a ton of videos that will help you along with cutting adhesive vinyl and making your first shirt and heat presses and tips and tricks and fonts. And I mean, guys, this, like I said, I'm not trying to overwhelm you, so we are going to try to keep it short, but it's a wonderful machine. Obviously, you know that I'm very sold on the Cricut Maker, and I know that you will be too. So, like I said, any questions, put them down below. I'm gonna link some videos in the description for you, so make sure you check those out. And of course, I linked you to this little crafty bundle in case you decide that you wanna check that out too. If you don't mind, give us that quick subscribe, or maybe share this with a friend who also has recently gone down the Maker journey with you. And guys, I just really appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. It does make my heart happy, and I really love it every time you take a minute to stop by and pay me a visit. So thanks again, guys. We will see you next time.